We are honored to celebrate iHouse 20th birthday, and let's together look back and see how God led us here. And I want to introduce to you Traci Wilson. Many of you already know her. She is iHouse first official minister. What is years of your iHouse ministry position?
Okay, so officially I started in 2005 and I went through 2013. We did have a few years there where it was unofficial, so technically 2002. Officially I was 8.5 years, and then unofficially I guess a few more.
That's pretty cool. That's very impressive. So let me ask you, how did this ministry begin 20/22 years ago?
It actually grew out of the AFC. So I was a senior at A&M, and I decided to be a serve abroad intern in Thailand. Cool. And so I went for 6 months over there, worked with the missionaries and the Thai church, and it completely shifted my worldview, my understanding of the world, my understanding of Christ. And so when I returned, then I had this like aha moment of, I don't have to be in Thailand to express my faith, to reach out to people. And so I gathered a couple of my AFC friends and I said, hey, let's go outreach to international students on campus. And my heart was toward the international students because I had just been one. I didn't know where the stores were, I didn't know the language, I didn't know the layout of the town. So my heart was toward the international students who had just arrived here. So we just invited them to our apartment, and we had dinner, we had Bible study, and it grew, and it was fun, and that was just a really special time. And so the next semester, we had some of our guy AFC friends who wanted to join us as well. And so we said, yeah, come on, you can come, just bring a friend. And so
international friend?
International friend. And so we did, and so it just kept growing. And so that was in 2002, and so that was iHouse before it was iHouse. When it began, so I had gone to Santiago, Chile as a serve abroad intern again, this time for 1.5 years. And side note, we have a couple of those missionary kids are now in our AFC. Oh, wow. And yeah, it's really fun. And actually, a couple of them are kids ministry intern and youth ministry intern.
That's cool.
So that's really fun. When I was ending my internship in Santiago, Penn Stakis, who was the elder over missions at that time, and Kelly Davidson, who was the AFC minister, they reached out to me and they just said, hey, why don't you come back and let's make iHouse official, and you can also do AFC missions and coordinate serve abroad and coordinate church missions. So it was kind of all in one package thing.
Lots of work.
Yeah. So it's kind of all in one. And so I said sure, and so that was spring of 2005 when we came back. And
what was your vision and prayer for international students at the start?
There were two things. The first one was to welcome them to Texas, and the second was to introduce them to Jesus.
Can you share one story of God at work at these early years of ministry?
So one of our very, very first memories that I have is driving around the Northgate area with Kelly, and we were praying about where our international group could meet. We didn't have a name really at that time. So we were driving around Northgate and just praying and just looking, because at that time there weren't all those high rises there, and that's where all the international students lived. And so our thought was, if we could find a place over there, then the international students could walk and have easy access to it. Kelly remembered that there was a former AFCer who had lived over in that area, and his name was Alan Mosley. So we reached out to him to see if by chance his family still had the house, and they did. And fast forward, we bought the house from them. The church bought the house from the Mosleys, and it became the iHouse. And so the AFC students, because this was an AFC ministry, the AFC students went in and did all the painting, and we had a banner made so that people could easily find it. And it became, and the AFC students named it also. And so that became the International House, or the iHouse. One of my favorite memories is, so the AFC would go on week-longs, and we would join, usually to Central Texas because it was the closest, and the international students couldn't take the whole week because they're in their grad programs.
Yes.
So I would drive them out there to join AFCers whenever they were free. And so I have this one memory, that's a couple-hour drive. I have this one memory driving my friend Makesh to Central Texas, and the entire time we were discussing how quantum physics and God relate. I will never forget, we had such a great conversation on the way to Central Texas. Another moment that was really special to me is when our friend Elliot told us he was getting married, and he had chosen a Christian wife. Now, he was not a Christian and not quite ready to make that commitment, but he knew he wanted it to be in his future, and so he chose a wife that was Christian. And we learned later, after he graduated and moved on, that he did eventually become a Christian. He was baptized and clothed with Christ, and that's so special to us because he was one of our dear friends.
As a current minister of iHouse, I have a question that I'm just curious. What kind of events did you do 20 years ago? Because we do different activities probably, or maybe some the same. That's, I don't know about. Can you share what activities you did throughout the year with international students?
Yeah, I love this question. This is such a great question. Well, like right now, you've got Zumba going on.
Yeah.
Well,
we're trying.
We're trying to get that up and running. And back in the day, we had yoga.
Oh.
And one of our international students was good at yoga, and so we said, hey, you want to lead a yoga class? And so it was after Wednesday night upstairs, and it was a great class. Another a huge one that we all loved so much was the Cowboy Cookout, and it actually started before my time. I'm pretty sure Betsy Anderson started that. I need to go back and check, but. And it used to be called the International Cookout. And eventually we thought, you know what, if we're cooking someone out, if we're cooking out a person, then it probably needs to be the cowboy, not the international student. So we changed the name to the Cowboy Cookout. And at the Cowboy Cookout, Paul Atkinson opened up his ranch, and we had so many volunteers come out. I'm thinking about Stuart Mars came out with his dad and would, be the blacksmith. Forey Grove brought his guns and let the international students practice shooting. Paul brought in a band one year. We found a monster truck one year to come out and give them rides.
Wow.
We gave hay rides all the time. People would bring their horses and let the students ride on their horses. I'm thinking about Ben and Ashley Scow, who would make Dutch oven biscuits.
Oh.
And later the Hills, I think, took that over, Chris and Christy Hill. So it was a really fantastic, multi-generational iHouse AFCers. A lot of the AFCers were the hosts and would welcome everybody. We had big batches of chili, and so that was a really fun special event. And we did retreats, which I think you do. We did campouts, we did hiking. I think a lot of the things that you do still are things that we did then. And I think the importance of those is to create positive shared memories, right? That's what builds trust and builds relationships. And so you have to have lots and lots of those positive shared memories that can then transform into deeper conversations.
What advice would you give to current people who minister to iHouse? We know I'm officially iHouse minister current, but it's more than anybody else that it takes so much more people to make this ministry happen and serve international community.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing I would say is get involved, right? There are lots of ways to get involved. I love that you have like a whole dialogue team that is really actively involved, but not everybody has to be that involved. There you can open your home for a cooking class or a meal or a game night or whatever.
It's usually once a year. Like you can open your house just once a year. We're gonna come out.
Yeah. And I think the next thing is to trust the Lord. Our job is just to plant seeds, and then we just trust the Lord. I think that's a really big part of it. The third thing I would say is have the conversations. If you sense that they have a question, let them ask that question. Be open about about your experience, be open about their experience, because it may be different than yours. So I think having those, just let the conversations happen
Yes.
is important.
What is your prayer of 20 more years of international ministry?
I think my biggest prayer is that the Lord would change the trajectory of the lives of these students, right? That's what our hope is for each of us, not just them, but for us too. And so I am asking the Lord for a generational impact on these students, not just for them, but for their children, for their grandchildren. That's my prayer.
What blessings you personally received from serving international students?
Love for the nations, a love for the world, for people, for thoughts and ideas that are different than mine, for cultures that are different than mine. Yeah.
I have another question for you. What were key moments that shaped direction of this ministry?
Initially, I think it was just the AFC planting the seed to always be looking outward and to always be on the lookout for new people. And so I think even before Thailand, I think that seed was planted in me. So I think that's one thing that led then later on to the iHouse ministry. But another moment that shaped the direction of iHouse was there was a time when we had about 10 or 12 students who were actively coming every Sunday to church. And we had a whole little group, and it was AFCers and iHouse all sitting together kind of in the back over there. And we realized that they were not fully understanding the sermon. Between language barrier and Bible jargon, it just wasn't fully understood. So that's when dialogue started.
Wow.
So dialogue started because we would pull them out during the sermon, and just like crazy.
That's cool.
And we would go to a small room and we would just have a Bible discussion. We'd read the Bible and just let them ask their questions.
Wow.
And so that was a very pivotal moment, I feel like, for iHouse, and I think that's something that you still have going on now, and it's now on Wednesday nights, and there's multiple people who come, and so that's a special part of the ministry, I think, to me.
Beautiful, thank you. If you can summarize the ministry's journey in one word, what it would be, or one phrase?
I feel like the word I would use is 2.0, because iHouse is just getting started with its next round of growth. I can feel it. And so I feel like iHouse 2.0 is beginning, and you're doing a beautiful job.
Thank you. What message of gratitude can you address to our church family, because they faithfully served all these 20 years?
It really is incredible. I have loved all of the support that the church has given, just over and over and over. Some people that I'm specifically thinking of, I'm thinking about Barbara Colkhorst, who always had people in her home for every holiday meal. Pence and Janice Dacus and Bob and Mark Davidson, they would always host a Lunar New Year party. Kent Dale, I remember, did a whole class on insurance for the students, for the international students, to help them learn how to do the insurance thing. I'm thinking about Micah Baker, who she was one of our original AFC conversation cluster leaders, and then she was a server broader, and then she was a missionary, and now she's back, and she and Chad are so involved with their family, with iHouse. And there's so many more, right? There are so many more. I'm thinking about the ministers, actually, who went on after me. It was Lindsay Phillips, who is Lindsay Sanger now, and then there was Hillary Anderson and Lindsay Susan, and then Sarah Brinker, and then now you.
Yeah.
So, and those are just a few. There are so many people who have given their time and energy over the years. I mean, look how huge of a group that was serving out at the iHouse Market this year. So. Yes. The impact that this church has had on iHouse and iHouse has had on this church is really incredible.
Yes, we are very grateful to the Lord for this amazing ministry and for all church members who serve all these 20 years and hopefully will keep serving, because as I see on the videos, kids of people who start serving a long time ago, they're coming now and they help in the events and markets and stuff. So it's really, really praise to the Lord.
Amen.